Yahoo Sports Daily right here from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern. You see a massive guest list today, some heavy hitters. That's right. Dane Brugler going to join us to talk about the Beast. Brandon Perna going to talk Broncos. And that man, I can't believe it, Bryan Cranston going to join us to talk Dodgers. It's going to be exciting. I'm Jason Fitz. He's Coley Harvey in for Caroline Fenton, who's getting married this weekend. Coley, let's have some fun this morning, brother. We've known each other for a minute, but this is our first time getting to do 2 hours together. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, man, I'm so glad to be here, Fitz. Thanks so much for having me. Caroline, congratulations. Go get married. Have a great weekend. I hope all the gifts come your way. I hope the matrimony goes very well. So a good weekend to Caroline.
I mean, she's getting married Saturday. She's still going to come work. Oh, well, it's fine. We'll let her have some time off. All right, let's get to some topics. We're going to start with a big one tonight. And it's a big one not because of this season, but it's a big one because of the brands that we have taking each other on. We have Lakers Warriors tonight. And Coley, this is one of those amazing moments where we have to realize that we are running out of times where we're going to actually see LeBron take on Steph. And it's crazy to me because LeBron and Steph is such a rivalry that I would think this game has more heat. But maybe this game not having heat because the two teams aren't good is a statement, because I'm trying to figure out if this rivalry between Steph and LeBron is really an all-timer. In your mind, is this the greatest individual rivalry in NBA history?
Well, in NBA history, like you're talking the foundation of the league. You're talking the creation of the NBA when it merged with the ABA. You're talking about all these years, this being the greatest individual rivalry. I think absolutely no way, Jose. I mean, you're talking about Bird Magic. You're talking about Isaiah and MJ. You're talking about Kobe and just about everybody that he played. And you're saying that this is possibly the greatest rivalry? I don't think that that's possible. I will say, though, this is an exceptional rivalry. You're talking about those years in 2015 to 2018 where it just seemed like every single year it went down to the Warriors and the Cavs when LeBron was with the Cavs, of course. Then there was the Heat moments when he was in Miami. But it's not the greatest of all time. I mean, Bird Magic is number one, top and foremost. I mentioned the rivalries there in the 90s as well, that they just felt a little more real. Some of it is because those players didn't leave. You know, I mean, these guys, again, I mentioned that LeBron's moved teams here. He's now LA. He's had the Cavs years and the Heat years as well. It doesn't feel like it has that same cachet, but I will say that I think for this generation, for the young folks, the young adults, the young kids who are coming up right now, this is probably the number one rivalry, individual rivalry in the NBA for them. But for me and you and those of us who've watched this league for a long time, there's no way that it holds a candle to everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is what really amazed me when I got to thinking about it is we looked at this game happening tonight is that it's not even on the Mount Rushmore of greatest rivalries in NBA history. And that's hard. Like, look, I got to be clear. Like, I'm not someone that sits here and says, oh, basketball in the 90s versus basketball today. I don't care. I don't care about any of that argument. I think it's great when sports evolve. And I think, frankly, the argument that anybody in today's world couldn't play in the 90s or vice versa is fairly asinine. I think athletes can train for every generation. So I'm not sitting here apologizing for any of different eras of basketball. This one just doesn't have the same level of heat because I am old. I did grow up watching what Larry versus Magic meant, and it was the world shut down. In fact, I'll be clear, I got up this morning early, and I had SportsCenter on, and I get up on, and my reason that I watched the beginning of both of them is I wanted to see, were they treating tonight like it was an epic moment, even though these two teams suck? They didn't even mention it. Why? Because this rivalry, as great as it is, doesn't resonate the same that others would. We know in the NFL, for example, there are certain times, it didn't matter if it was Brady versus Manning and both teams were great, or Brady versus Manning and both teams were okay. Brady versus Manning was a rivalry everybody tuned into, right? Like when you have the greatest rivalries of all time, the world stops, and it doesn't matter if the teams suck. You say, man, this might be the last time we get to see this. We don't know if LeBron's going to come back and keep playing. We don't know if Steph is at some point going to decide he doesn't want to be part of whatever Golden State's rebuilding. We don't know what the future for these guys looks like, but they're playing tonight in what could be the last time we see them play each other, particularly at least in the jerseys they're wearing for two of the most prominent brands of their generation, and nobody cares. Like that to me is a statement of how far off this rivalry is, Coley, versus some of the other greats that we see in NBA history. Because I'm telling you, if Magic was playing Larry, didn't matter. We were watching. If Isaiah was playing Michael, doesn't matter what those two teams look like. We were watching. I love your Kobe point. Everybody hated Kobe every single time they played him. Like, it was a thing. Even if you look at, like, Patrick Ewing versus Michael, like, you could go Charles Barkley versus Michael. You could go a ton of different 90s stars that brought everything to that. Tonight is just going to be a game, and I think that that's a statement to how far off this rivalry is compared to some of the greats.
I think it's also just kind of a statement to the fact that that the game has evolved, right? You know, I mean, there was one more rivalry in there that I actually kind of wanted you to list off, and that's Reggie versus John Starks even has more cachet than this one, you know? I mean, and those two only met in the playoffs, really, where it actually kind of mattered. And I think that is the difference, is that this is a rivalry that did develop out of the finals. It did develop out of crunch time, but it just still isn't the same. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because the last couple of weeks I actually was watching Winning Time. I've been on this big TV binge the last few weeks. We're going to get to a lot of that later on in the show, I know. But Winning Time, which is about those Showtime Lakers, and Bird Magic was the storyline of that series. And so I've really been kind of paying attention to this. This does not hold the same weight, the same water as what we witnessed with those teams back then.
And what surprises me is that the modern generation of NBA fan is more player-centric than ever, right? Like, they buy the jerseys for the player. They follow. Like, they're going to take LeBron where LeBron fans are going to go with LeBron wherever LeBron goes, right? And if Steph were to leave the Warriors, then Steph fans are going to buy whatever jersey for whatever team he goes to. It's surprising to me that personal rivalry doesn't resonate more, given the current generation consumes the personal athlete more for the name on the back than they do for the name on the front. So I think it's interesting. It hasn't really sort of elevated. That being said, if you had to pick right now to spend your hard-earned money, which one of these two players is more, destination? I got to spend it. I got to watch it. I have to see them play right now.
Wow. Well, I will say, first and foremost, because of the job that you and I have and the business that we're in, I've been very fortunate to see both of them play live without spending a dime. But this being said, yeah, right. I mean, we are very lucky in this business. But that being said, right now, today, this very moment, I'm spending my hard-earned cash to watch LeBron James play. I mean, the man is 41 years old. He's a mid-80s baby. I know a lot of mid-80s babies, including one right here, very well. I can't fathom being able to do a fraction of what it is that he is still able to do on the court in terms of the high flying, the leaping, the dunking, the fast break running. And I'm a runner now. I run pretty often myself. I think I can actually run some short distance pretty well, but I can't run with the same gallop and gallivanting speed that LeBron James does right now at his age. And I'm not that far behind him. That all being said, I think because of the majesty of his game, I would spend my cash to watch him. Steph Curry, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's an exciting scorer, an unbelievable shooter. I have a video from 2017 that I recorded in his pregame warm-up when he was playing in New York all those years ago. I still get likes on that video on IG because of just how unique he is as an athlete. People still care about Steph Curry. His name resonates. He is certainly a fan favorite that way. But if I'm picking right this minute, especially because he's coming off of this injury, Steph is, if I'm picking right this minute, I'm picking LeBron James as the guy that I want to spend my cash to see.
You've almost talked me into it because of everything you just mentioned. And you're right. Like both of these guys, the opportunity to see him is incredible. I love joy, though. Like there's just something to me about watching. And in this picture, you got two guys smiling. It makes it seem like LeBron is just so full of joy. We know that at this time, in this spot in his career, LeBron just isn't as joyful. Like every time he's asked a question, he kind of rolls his eyes. While he's playing, he reminds us he spends more time watching golf than he does basketball. He doesn't care about the drama anymore, and I don't blame him. If I'd lived sort of in that sort of level of spotlight my entire life and had everything questioned that I've done constantly, I'd probably be a little bit over it too. There's still a joy to everything that Steph does on the court that I find infectious. That's the moment to me where I just want to see that laughter. I just want to see that enjoyment. I just want to see that pop of energy. I respond to that. So for me, just because there's a level of Steph that always feels like he's having more fun than everybody else. I respond to that. I want to see that. I want to get the opportunity to see that continually. In fact, I hope, that we're not near the end of either of these players. I hope that next year we're getting rivalry matchups between them somehow, somewhere, some way. Maybe not for these two teams. But at the end of the day, if I'm only going to have the chance to see one before it's all said and done, I want to see that joy of Steph one more time. That to me, there's a fire in that I love. All right, but how about this? Both, obviously, the Lakers have a very clear playoff path. We understand where they are. But for them to win a series in the playoffs, they're going to have to get a Herculean effort from the old man, right? That's the only way that it's going to happen. I say old knowing I'm older than LeBron. That being said, we got like a much more difficult path for Golden State. They're going to have to win their way in from the play into the playoffs, and then would have to win a round one game, a series, I should say, against OKC. So who do you trust more in these impossible scenarios to will their team to a first-round playoff win, LeBron or Steph?
While we were sitting here just kind of getting ready for the show today, we were kind of talking about play-in scenarios and the teams that we think will make it. I do think that in this play-in scenario for the Warriors, I actually like them. I like their chances to get out of that and to move along. That being said, when it comes to getting a first-round win and actually surviving and thriving in these playoffs, I got to be the LeBron homer here, and I got to go with LeBron James. I think that he puts this team on his back in this first round at the very least. This might be the only first round, or excuse me, the only round of the playoffs that he really has left in him in terms of putting a team on his back, shouldering that team. And I think it's going to happen this year. Granted, he's got Austin Reeves, who's banged up, might be without him, not just in the first round, but maybe even a little bit longer. Luka Doncic, of course, we know he's trying to get that hamstring fixed in Spain. We'll see if he actually makes it into the early rounds of the playoffs or not. But either way, I think that knowing that he's going to be without two of his key weapons, his key horses, I think that LeBron's going to put this team on his shoulders in this first round. He's going to will this team to victory. And then from then on, I don't know, maybe it falls apart for the Lakers after that. Maybe he just doesn't have enough in the tank. But I feel like he's going to look at this as his opportunity to still try to go out a winner. He's got some buzzsaws down the way in case this team does advance past a couple of rounds in OKC and San Antonio, certainly. But I still think that he sees this as an opportunity to thrive, and he's going to try to make it happen. But that being said, I do also see the Warriors making it out of that play-in game and making it on the way all the way to the first round as well.
Yeah, so I think the Warriors can make it to the actual playoffs, but I'm not really counting that in this situation. The problem is once they get through that play-in, they're going to be greeted by the juggernaut known as OKC, and that's just going to be a bloodbath. I mean, an absolute bloodbath. Like, Coley, we both worked at ESPN, and I remember playing it in the ESPN gym. I remember playing some basketball with some of the ESPN radio guys, and I was like, this is awesome. Felt pretty good about it. Team won some games. We felt good. And then all of a sudden we came in the next time to play, and we were playing against a bunch of former NBA players, and we got our butts kicked, right? Like, that's like, look, you can win some games in the play-in because those teams suck. But when you take on an actual real team in Oklahoma City, that's going to be like the moment that I walked in and realized, wait a minute, you want me to play against Hollins and Billups? They both played in the NBA. I'm 5'9" and I toured in a band. I don't stand a chance. I'm just saying. So, I think that there's just an element here of like understanding that getting to the playoffs doesn't necessarily mean a playoff victory. We'll finish this chapter of this conversation about these two icons with this. Do you believe, Coley, that this is the last time we will see these two take each other on? Are we about to see one or the other decide that it's time?
This was actually a point that I was thinking about when we first started this chat. I don't think so. And I think maybe this is why there hasn't been this upswell of conversation about how this might be the very last matchup between them, because LeBron's really probably not giving this game up really that soon. Even though, he'll be going on 42 next year. It feels like this may be the end of the road. He's starting to really see Bronny get opportunities to flourish and shine. And his main concern was to make it to the point where he could play with his son. Well, he's done that. So it feels like this is the end, but I don't know. He's such a competitor, and Steph is such a competitor as well. I'm sure that Steph is not liking the fact that he lost so much of this year to injury. I think that we're going to see these guys match up again next season. Maybe next season is the very last of it. But either way, we should be treating this with the respect that it deserves, because even if it's not the greatest rivalry of all time, these guys still are at the very end of their careers, their illustrious careers.
It's certainly the greatest rivalry of their generation. And I think what gets interesting is, while I agree, I have a hard time believing LeBron's going to leave without a massive exit tour. I also could see a world where LeBron and Steph find a way to play together in the future. And in that case, this would be the last time that we see it. Also, shame on you for saying end of the road, because now all I'm going to do is think of Boys to Men for the rest of the show. All right, we're just getting rolling. I know, it's not stuck in my head. I'm snapping, I'm doing the whole thing. Coming up, last night we got a first-round preview, but is it the first-round preview we actually want in the NBA? We'll answer that next.
Who are some of the other like UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like, who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
Oh,
he's
no.
awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like it. Golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
The Dallas Mavericks, are they still taking Cooper Flag, Corey?
He is legitimately, as a 6'8" wing who does everything at a high level, shows up every day, competes his ass off.
The way his handle has improved since high school to Duke to now suggests that this guy can be a MVP candidate, not just a multi-time All-Star as a role player, a high-end star role player, but a mega star.
Do you feel pressure that this is America's birthday, this is the White House, you have to represent?
Hell yeah. I do feel pressure. I feel pressure that, I got to go out there and represent for the United States, and I got to go out there and I feel like I'm going to be expected to go out there and win this fight. I'll probably be a favorite. There's pressure right there too. I put pressure myself. I need to finish. It's been too long.
Johnson to the end zone, caught. Guess who? C.J. Jefferson.
And in talking to the coaches this week, they said that's your playmaker. That's the guy that Jerome Johnson has the most confidence in. And there you are on 4th and goal, and you throw it right at the goal line, right at the yellow line at the wall. Terrific throw. Nice catch.
Great execution there for New Mexico. They had to have a play.
As you see right there, you can see what the playoffs would look like if they started today. Now, there's plenty of change that can still happen even with just a few days remaining in the regular season. So the chaos is just beginning. The playoffs begin April 18th. We'll have every ounce of it covered. But we're going to cover right now the way we love to on this show, in a weird way. We're going to do something we call on target or on something. So we're going to take a look at some of the different possible matchups we have, and we're going to figure out, is it on target? Love that. Or are we on something? Like maybe we partied a little too hard last night. So, Coley, let's take a look at some of the matchups that we're possibly getting. We'll start with what we saw last night. All right, Cavs-Hawks, we got them last night. So are you in? Sign me up for a Cavs-Hawks round 1 series. We had a big game Wednesday night. Did that whet your appetite, wet your whistle enough to make this something that's on target or on something?
I got to go on target with this one because, well, first and foremost, I am the resident ATLian in this hometown, Atlanta, Georgia. I know my mom and my dad are watching, so hello to them. Hello to everybody in the good city, the 404. Harry Douglas, I am not. I know that you worked with Harry a long time, another fellow Atlantan. But that being said, with this rivalry, not rivalry, we just talked rivalries, but this matchup, I'm all in, and last night kind of proved it. Up until, I would say, the last 3 minutes or so of that game, it was a very good one, a very close one. This is exactly what you would imagine a 4-5 seed matchup to be. Kudos to the Cavs. They clearly have caught some type of lightning in a bottle with James Harden. I mean, I remember the play that basically sealed the game last night was when Harden did his patented, take a three, jump in, and draw the foul on a guy who's leaning in at the very last second. That was Jalen Johnson in this case, who ended up fouling out to end the night for him, and that basically ended the night for the Hawks. Two teams that certainly have a lot of young pieces that are trying to grow, but also have those veterans who are willing them. I'm really curious to know if this matchup is going to prove in the playoffs, if we get it, if this matchup proves that James Harden is the one who has benefited his team from his presence, being a leader in that locker room, or if it's CJ McCollum and the Hawks. But by all accounts, it seems as if both veterans in their trade acquisitions that they have, that their teammates have bought into everything that they've been selling them, and that and that they've made their teams that much better. We saw the Hawks go on that long winning streak there throughout the month of March. A lot of that was a credit to McCollum's veteran presence. So if we get games like we got last night between the Cavs and Hawks, I'm on it. Give me this series.
All right, so that's on target for you. It's on something for me, and I'm gonna be a hater. I'm just gonna, just give me my hater rate. I have a high bar, all right? And so, Coley, one thing I always say is that I believe playoffs and championships are for casuals. And so it's the way to get people drawn into the game, right? And the best way to get people drawn into the game are huge stars playing like huge stars. So you look at this. Number one, I got to rely on James Harden to play like a huge star in the playoffs. And we all know that if this thing goes the distance, that won't happen because nobody chokes more than Harden does when the moment's the biggest. So I don't trust Harden. I've said that repeatedly. It's why I'm out on Cleveland. But then the other side of it is, even if I want to buy in that Harden's going to be really good and the Cavs are going to bring some star power to this, I ask you, as somebody that loves the Hawks, like, is there really that star power that makes everybody say, ooh, I can't wait to watch Atlanta tonight? Like, CJ McCollum was a star. He was a really great Robin a few years ago. But, like, nobody's out there tuning into Batman starring CJ McCollum. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest here. Jonathan Kuminga, like, Kuminga's the guy that every fan base acquires Kuminga and says, this is going to be the guy, until he's not the guy. Like, there's so little here that just draws you in. Like last night, this game made it to my side TV. It was my side piece game, and I didn't even really have an important main piece. So, like, even when there wasn't a big competitor for this, I still found myself meh on this one. So, look, it's gonna be fine. Our producer, Mike Goldfarb, huge Cleveland fan, keeps telling me the East playoffs are going to be great. And I keep looking at him saying, really? Like, I mean, the games might be close, but are we really going to be flocking to this? We're on something. I'm on something on this one. I'm on something today, maybe. All right, but let's keep going. We'll take a look at this one. How about on target or on something? How about this one? Thunder, Clippers. All right, this would be, in order for this to happen, the Clippers would have to win their way in. They'd have to then they'd be the 8th seed. They would take on the Thunder, who right now look dominant to everybody. On target or on something that we want to see Thunder clip in the first round?
That'd be on something for me. I'm not really feeling this matchup. Again, kudos to the Clippers if they're able to make it to this game. But it's just not a very pretty matchup. And it kind of goes to the point that you just made. Even in the East, a 4-5 Atlanta-Cleveland, as well as those teams that might have played throughout the year and as evenly matched in some ways as they may be simply because of the seeding, it's just not a great matchup on paper. And this is an even worse matchup. And we're going to get these in the first round, especially when you got an OKC team that is just going to, beat the brakes off of really anybody that it plays in the first round, let alone a team like the Clippers. I am curious to see how Kawhi Leonard shows up. Of course, he's had his moments in the playoffs throughout his history, not just when he was with the Spurs, but I think a lot about that corner three that he took in Toronto back in 2022. Actually, that was the night of my birthday that year. That was an unbelievable shot, and it was just one of those kind of playoff defining moments that he had. I'd be curious to see if maybe he has a moment in this series, but again, it's just they're too overmatched. The Clippers are too overmatched in this series. So for me, this matchup, it's on something.
I mean, you're right, but there's just enough of a troll in me that's a little on target with this, just to watch Ballmer's billions just get shellacked, right? Like Ballmer comes in thinking, I'm the richest man in all the sports world, and that gets you what? A first-round butt whooping at the hands of SGA, no doubt, who your franchise, I mean, I've been Ballmer, but your franchise had the opportunity. Yep. So the number of mistakes that go into the Clippers getting their asses kicked by OKC is just delightful to me. Plus, then the number of times that we will hear some sort, at least on this show, we'll make jokes after every game that are somewhere along the lines of the Clippers had aspirations last night to win, but couldn't. Like the tie-ins to the controversy are good. the shellacking will be just demoralizing for the Clippers, and then we can finally get to their minimal punishment that comes from salary cap circumvention that will only drive the entire world crazy. The troll in me is in on this one, Coley. I don't know why I'm in on this because, like, let's be honest, I'd be stunned if this goes 5. Like, this feels more like we'll be asking the question, should there be a mercy rule after 2 games in this series? Like, do we have to watch 4? But, again, that's a statement of how good OKC is and what a pretender the Clippers are in this process. So I feel good about that one. All right, we'll get one more in here as our first round previews. Maybe we agree on this one. Okay, on target or on something, Spurs, Blazers. All right, so this would be a 2 versus 7 in this if we got this. Spurs, Blazers, would that be on target or on something here?
You know, I got to go on something with this one as well. And it's just, again, the West Coast, the Western Conference, these playoffs are going to kind of they're going to have these kind of matchups early on. I mean, the Blazers it just doesn't do anything for me, honestly. Again, more power to them for potentially getting to this game and this potentially being the matchup. But the Spurs are just so strong. And I know last night it was a pretty competitive game until fairly late. Denny Avdija, really went off. Had the game high in points in that one. But this is about the Spurs for me. This is about another beatdown coming. Let's just go on and basically roll out the red carpet for the Spurs and the Thunder to end up playing in the Western Conference Finals. I really don't want to be paying attention to the rest of that side of the playoffs right now. I just want to get to that final series because it's going to be so fun, so intriguing. And again, you can't really even take anything away from this matchup in terms of this past matchup last night, in terms of how it's going to transfer to this first round, because Wemby wasn't playing. Wemby is dealing with a little bit of an injury, but he's going to be playing just fine in the playoffs, and he's going to be going off, putting the Spurs back on his shoulders like he's been doing throughout the last part of the regular season. So I just want to get to the Western Conference Finals more than anything. So this matchup is always something for me.
I feel like just a terrible basketball fan in general that I'm sitting here thinking, man, the Nuggets are going to screw this up for all of us, aren't they? The Nuggets are going to find a way to screw this whole thing up because we want Spurs OKC. We agree on this one. This one's on something. And I think if you injected truth serum into veins, like if you right now just went in with a poll and you walked into, 30 sports bars tonight and asked everybody, hey, Portland going to make the playoffs? NBA fans would be like, I don't think so. Like, I think NBA fans are even shocked to be reminded that Portland can still find a way into the playoffs. Like, nobody cares about Portland right now. And on top of it, like you mentioned, there was no Wemby last night. Spurs still took care of business. They will just absolutely demoralize this team. So, look, I get it that, if you're Portland, great, you made the playoffs, you didn't tank. I guess we slow clap that. But this is really, again, a statement to how good the best of the West is. And you're right. I think we're just going to have to get through kind of like we did in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes you got to get through just some of the gross to get to what we really want. I think the best of the best is going to be great. We just have to get there. Speaking of the best, one of the best in the business going to join us next. How about this? Dane Brugler just put out the beast, and now we will talk NFL draft with him coming up next.
2 in motion, quarterback drops back, looks, throws the ball wide open over the middle. Oh, what a hit and what an interception. Huge defensive play. Absolutely beast mode. Jaden Rowe able to get the pick, and we have our first turnover of the game.
He used his head. Well, a tip drill to his teammate off his head.
I was super proud of Gable's fight. I think that Gable really showed tonight that he is going to be great. There's several questions that we got answered. What is he going to do when he gets hit? That was the big one. Everybody's asking it. All the coaches are looking at it. Gable took a spinning heel kick to the jaw and went like this. Nothing. No, he didn't get out of the process. As a matter of fact, he went right back in that guy's face. So that answers a huge question. Also takes away another avenue to victory that all his future opponents will be looking at.
We're going to give you a name. You tell us whether it's a real college athlete or if our producers just made it up out of thin air. Okay, so collegian or concoction. The first one we'll give you is Fat Brooks. Now, for clarity, Fat is P-H-A-T.
That is a concoction.
That's a collegian. He's a guard for Central Michigan.
Fat Brooks.
Fat Brooks, yes.
But you know what, Ariel, as well? I actually think this is a wonderful, wonderful thing for the UFC. Because if you've got the UFC heavyweight champion whose profile has already risen incredibly over the last week, and by the way, we will continue to drive his profile with our promotional machine. And I believe that when he fights again, he will be in a much better position commercially. He will be a much bigger star.
Dane Brugler dropped The Beast. That's the 2026 NFL Draft Guide, now available interactive and PDF from The Athletic. I say this every time I have the opportunity to talk to Dane, and I'll say it to you guys very transparently. Every single one of us, I've been lucky enough in my career to cover the NFL Draft every year of it for ESPN, now Yahoo. Every single one of us that covers it relies on The Beast every year. Dane, we appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate your work because you're certainly a cheat code for all of us. Let's dive right into it because I've got a Raiders jersey, a Raiders helmet behind me. I'm trying to figure out when to order my Fernando Mendoza jersey. I've heard all of the conversation about Fernando, so I need Dane's thoughts as we hear that maybe Fernando isn't the best fit. Maybe he isn't the best quarterback. Orlovsky doesn't love him. What does Dane Brugler think of Fernando Mendoza?
Yeah, and I think he's a little bit different than maybe your Caleb Williams, your Drake May, some of these other top quarterbacks we've seen come through the draft. But if you're the Raiders, this is exactly the type of guy that you take a chance on, especially a team that's been a little bit in the quarterback wilderness recently. And when you bet on quarterbacks, I'm going to bet on a guy with accuracy, toughness, intangibles, football IQ. And he has that. And yeah, you can poke holes in his game. There's no doubt about it. We think about that Indiana offense, very RPO heavy. He's so often he's going to that first read. There wasn't, to think of that offense, it wasn't all put on him. The run game was a big part of what Indiana did. This year they've had 16 games, and he had one game over 300 yards passing. I mean, that's unheard of in today's college football. So it's just a little bit different than maybe some other top quarterbacks we've seen come through the draft. But no, this is absolutely the type of guy you take a chance on and say, we believe he'll be a top 8 to 12 quarterback in the league. And that's what you strive for. The goal isn't to find the next Patrick Mahomes, because that's unrealistic, right? You're not going to, the chances you finding that next Josh Allen are very, very low. So if you find a quarterback you think can be a top 12 quarterback in the league, you better rush that card up and take your chances. And I think the Raiders think they have that guy.
Dane, you kind of began that answer by talking a little bit about Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence, some of these other top quarterbacks that have been taken in recent years. Cam Ward's another name that comes off the top of my head. Where would you rank Mendoza compared to some of those guys?
Yeah, not as high of a grade as Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels from a couple years ago, but I have him slightly ahead of Cam Ward from last year. And obviously these guys are so different, right? What Cam does is very different than what Mendoza offers. And we've seen, look around the NFL, there's different ways to play the quarterback position, different strengths help you win football games. But I keep coming back to, you look at Sam Darnold this past year and what, his having all that experience and, the difference between Sam Darnold as a rookie with the Jets and the difference between him and, year 6, 7 with now with the Seahawks. Like, it's just that veteran awareness is a big part of what wins football games for quarterbacks. And Mendoza has a level of that is really impressive. He understands pre-snap where to go with the football. That's his superpower. And I think that really separates him among quarterbacks and separates him in this class. And unfortunately, it's not a great quarterback class, which, the Raiders, I think, are feeling good about that. But teams like the Jets, the Browns, there's several other teams, the Cardinals, that are kind of wishing there was a few more quarterbacks in this class.
All right, so stick with those other quarterbacks for a second. Ty Simpson is the one that everybody gives a lot of love for. If you were the Jets or the Browns, a quarterback-needy team, and you were looking at the opportunity to draft Ty Simpson, do you take him or do you punt and wait for next year?
I think a lot of teams are going to be waiting for next year. And look, I get it. Next year's class is always better every single year. And we were saying this last year, and it didn't really materialize for several reasons. But I think as teams, because teams are always advanced scouting for next year. And I remember going back and talking to Phil Savage when he traded up in 2007 for Brady Quinn. They looked at the 2008 draft class, and there weren't any quarterbacks they were getting excited about. So they felt comfortable trading up to go get Brady Quinn. Then, Matt Ryan had a good senior year. Joe Flacco had a good senior year. They end up being first round picks. But, that's you have to, with the information you have at the time, you have to make a decision. And I think as teams look forward to 2027 in that quarterback class, they're getting pretty excited about obviously Arch Manning at the top, but then Dante Moore and Lenora Sellers. And I mean, on and on. There's 5 or 6 quarterbacks that teams will mention as potential first rounders next year. And, will that actually turn out to be true? Probably not. But even if half of those guys end up being what we think, I think, especially a team like the Jets, when they have so much draft capital for next year, I just don't think they're going to feel pressured into, unless we really, really love Ty Simpson, we're just not going to go in that direction. And now, first round, in the second round, maybe if Ty Simpson's still around, it's the value is there, and they feel like, at this point in the draft, it's kind of like Will Levis, let's roll the dice. If he turns out to be someone that we can win games with as a starter, okay, maybe we got our guy. But if we don't, then we can cut bait and move on to the next guy. So I think there's a good chance that Ty Simpson's still on the board Friday night as we get started on day 2.
Ooh. Now I want to talk about another guy that you've got high on your big board, and that's Jeremiah Love. You've got him at number 2 overall, and that always kind of sparks the debate between the top prospect available and positional value. Do you see a situation where Jeremiah Love could still go somewhere in the top 5, or do you think that the way that the running back market is, that he might slide a little further down?
I'll be shocked if he's not a top 7 pick. I think you look at the Titans at 4, the Giants at 5, Commanders at 7. I'll be pretty surprised if he's not one of those spots. And I get the conversation about positional value, and mostly from the standpoint of the contract, right? Because as soon as Jeremiah Love, if he's drafted in the top 5, where he'll be slotted among the highest paid running backs in the league, and that's a risk. I get that. But in terms of impact value, what he brings to your team, I think it's totally worth that risk. And you look at the Titans, running back's not the top need on their team necessarily, but Robert Saleh spent the last year in San Francisco seeing firsthand what Christian McCaffrey meant to that offense in San Francisco, and not just the run game, but the passing game, what he does as a pass catcher, how just his influence helps everybody else on the offense and helps the defense too, because the offense is on the field more. So I think the idea of adding an explosive talent like that to the Titans offense, you have a young quarterback, Cam Ward, you're trying to bring along and help him develop. I think that has to be awfully appealing. If he doesn't go 4, the Giants at 5, I mean, we know this is going to be a Harbaugh pick, and that makes it a little bit of a wild card because, John Harbaugh is not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He's more of that CEO type of head coach. And you go back to his time in Baltimore, they were all over the place in terms of, where they would draft in the first round. Sometimes it was in the trenches. Other times, okay, let's go with the safety and Kyle Hamilton, or okay, let's go with the center that's dropping and Tyler Linderbaum. So I don't think there's necessarily a true, tendency that you can point to with Harbaugh here at 5. But I think he knows the value of what an explosive running back can bring. So Love's definitely in the conversation there. And then at 7 with the Commanders, the chance to pair him with Love with Jaden Daniels in the backfield. The goal is you want to stress the defense, right? And I think that would absolutely do that. When you have those two guys in the same backfield, you don't know what's going to happen. Jeremiah Love's someone that you can motion out. He can run routes out of the slot. That pass catching dynamic is why he is in the Bijan Robinson category of running back prospects.
So you mentioned the Bijan category. Give me your comp. Bijan, obviously we've seen Ashton go. We've seen Jameer go. Where does Jeremiah rank with them?
I think he's ahead of Gentry from last year. I think he's more right in that Bijan category where he is. You feel like as soon as he gets into the league, he can be a top 10 running back from day one, and then by the end of his rookie contract, we're talking about him as a top 5 running back in the league. He has that type of ability. So one of the best players in this draft, no doubt about it. And you go back a couple years, the Falcons drafting Bijan Robinson, and when they did in the top 10. Obviously, the Falcons haven't been, this playoff team, but if you ask them, I don't think they regret drafting Bijan where they did because of what he has meant to that offense and what he'll continue to mean. And the same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs, who was taken, 12th that year by the Lions, a pick that was panned almost immediately. But I don't think the Lions in any shape or form regret making that selection. And I think there's a good chance we're saying the same thing about Jeremiah Love after he's a top 7 pick this year.
Yeah, 2 of my favorite running backs in Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. One of my favorite prospects that you've got on your big board is the number 1 guy. That's Arvell Reese. I'm curious how he compares with some of the other top edge rushers that you've got, like David Bailey, of course, is in there. Another favorite of mine, Ruben Bain, is in that mix. Where does Arvell Reese compare with some of those?
Yeah, and Reese is a little bit different, right? Because he's more of a hybrid. And there's a difference between tweener and hybrid. And I think Arvell Reese very much more of a hybrid because the way he was used in that Ohio State defense with Matt Patricia, more of a joker defender where one snap he's on the edge, the next snap he's playing stacked, the next he's a jam spy, the next he's an A-gap blitzer. They used him all over. Like that was his value because he's the type of athlete, the ability to process and understand where he needs to be allowed them to use him in all these different spots. But I think part of the, you worry a little bit when you move a guy that played off the ball down to more of a pass rush role on a consistent basis, mostly because of the physicality that's required at that position. I have no questions about the physicality of Arvell Reese. His violence at the point of attack is awesome. He will set an edge. And I think box score scouts don't like him because he had 10 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. It's not this gaudy production. But when you watch the tape and you see what he was asked to do in that scheme, he spilled production to his teammates. He's doing exactly what he was been coached to do for the overall team success. And it's a similar conversation with Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles and all those guys. They were just an embarrassment of riches for the Buckeyes on that side of the ball. But I think Arvell Reese, in my opinion, is the best player in the draft. And I think it'll be fascinating to see where he's drafted. It's going to be early. I think the Jets make a lot of sense at 2. Aaron Glenn has talked a lot about being more versatile and having a more of a hybrid type of look to their defense. And I think Arvell Reese fits that perfectly because I think he could be a full-time edge rusher. But at the same time, if you want to stand him up on third downs and kind of use them all over the place, I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons because they're a little bit different, but stylistically, I would love to use him in the same exact way. But no, I mean, I'm glad you brought up those other names too, because David Bailey, Ruben Bain, I think all 3 end up going in the top 9, top 10 picks. Bailey's more of that sprinter off the edge where he's explosive and he can win in different ways. He can win going right at you and really test the brakes of blockers, or he can go around you inside outside, and he's strong enough in his core and his hips where not easy to get him off his path. And I think teams are encouraged by the positive strides he made as a run defender, because last year or 2024 at Stanford, he was more of a sub-down player because they wanted him rushing the quarterback, but didn't necessarily trust him as a run defender. At Texas Tech, he was an every down player, and they asked him to play the run, and I thought he did a much better job of that. With Ruben Bain, no questions about him as a run defender. I think that's what gives, even though he is more of an historical outlier because of the arm length, under 31-inch arms, his ability as a run defender, I think, really raises the floor of what he's going to be as a pro. I don't know if he's going to be this double-digit sack guy consistently at the next level. I think it's going to be a lot tougher in the NFL to get those sacks. But I feel really good about him being just a solid quality player because he's so good against the run. The motor doesn't stop. And Bailey and Bain 1-2 this year in college football and quarterback pressures. One of the reasons why I have Bailey higher in my rankings is the ceiling's a little bit higher. And so I mentioned they were 1-2. Bain actually had 2 more pressures than Bailey did this year. But Bain had 180 more pass rush attempts than Bailey. So the efficiency much more in Bailey's corner.
Dane, give me somebody that you have projected right now as a day 2 guy, but you still think that they're a wild impact. Like they're somebody that could come and make an immediate impact to a team.
A guy that's going to be doubted because of his size, D'Angelo Pons, Indiana corner. Yeah, he's small. There's no way around it. But he's been small his entire life, and so he's used to that. He's used to overcoming. And you watch him his freshman year at James Madison, freshman All-American, immediately made a big impact. And then you watch him in Indiana, same exact thing. What his impact in the playoffs, that pick 6 he had against Oregon to start the game, how he performed against Miami. Really, it was just his matchup against Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State that gave him a little bit of trouble this year. But Jeremiah Smith does that to everybody. We'll be talking a lot about him at this time next year for the 2027 class. But I think D'Angelo Pons, the size is the size, but the toughness that he plays with, the elite speed, the instincts, I'm going to bet on that guy all day. And he probably won't go in the top 32 because of the size, but anywhere in the round 2, whether early in the second round in the 30s, I think he's going to make a team look pretty smart for making a bet on him.
Well, you just talked day 2 corner, day 2 DB there. What about day 2 receivers who you think could have an impact?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how many receivers go in the first. Every year seems like a strong receiver class, right? I mean, it just until the end of time, it's going to be a good receiver group because all these guys, all these athletes want to play receiver. And when you see what Alec Pierce is making, I think I understand why. I get it. And so, but at the same time, teams are seeing what Alec Pierce is making, and no disrespect to Alec Pierce, but they want to, okay, we can get maybe cheaper options in the draft, and thinking about those rookie contracts and how appealing that looks. And we're going to see probably 6 receivers go in the first round, but then there's not going to be that much of a drop off. We're going to see plenty more go on day 2. I think I'm most intrigued by Chris Bell, the Louisville receiver. Who unfortunately, I think he would go in the first round if not for the ACL because of that knee injury. He has that discount sticker on his tag, but a team's going to make a bet on him on day 2, second round. And, a big athlete, 6'2", 225 pounds, the acceleration, just throw on the Miami tape and watching him take a simple slant and then just outpace everybody to the end zone. It's special stuff. And so a little bit of a limited route tree in college, but you think about how he can impact the game now and then for the future, keep developing him, young player. I think you have something there with Chris Bell. He also had one of my favorite backstories in the draft. His freshman year in high school didn't make the team. And so he actually joined the band so he could be there for home games and away games. He said he put the instrument up to his mouth, wouldn't do anything because he didn't know how to play, but he just wanted to be around the football team, and that was his way to do it. So pretty cool story, and he's a guy where his best football is still ahead of him.
That is an amazing story. Dane, before we get you out of here real quick, you mentioned on the Athletic Football Show you only handed out 14 true first-round grades this year. How do you grade this draft overall compared to other drafts, not just from a superstar standpoint, but overall?
It's light at the top compared to other years, no question about it. I do think that it's hard to do it overall because I think some positions are stronger than others. Like if I need an edge rusher in this class, I'm feeling pretty good that I'm going to be able to find somebody, even if it's not one of those top 3 guys. If I can get a Malachi Lawrence in the second round from UCF or a Kieran Crawford from Auburn in the second round, Danny Dennis Sutton from Penn State, I'm feeling really good. Same thing I just mentioned, receiver, how deep it is there. But if I need a quarterback, I'm not feeling great. If I need a running back, I'm not necessarily feeling good about the depth in this class. Jeremiah Love's going to come off the board pretty quickly, and then we'll see where his teammate Jadarian Price goes. It'll be the first time we've ever seen running backs from the same program go 1-2 in a draft at the running back position. I like Mike Washington from Arkansas, and there's a couple other day 3 running backs you like, but just in terms of overall depth, the running back class isn't there. But the other positions, I think you feel good about the depth. It's just not a top heavy class this year.
Dane, as always, we appreciate it. You guys can check out The Beast at The Athletic. You can follow him on social media at DP Brugler. Dane, always appreciate your expertise, my friend. Thanks for the great work. We're using you as a cheat code, buddy. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I'd love to hear that. Thanks, guys.
It's great stuff from Dane. All right, coming up, was it great stuff last night from Shohei on the mound? You might be surprised by the answer.
What do you think was kind of misunderstood about George Pickens prior to him arriving in Dallas?
I don't know. It was so many things that I feel like that was misunderstood. They feel like his attitude was off. And I mean, he come in the league at 19 years old. What do you expect out of a guy and you want him to be your receiver one?
Right.
I feel like that's kind of crazy. But keeping him within the guidelines, letting him be himself at the same time, I feel like was probably the best thing for him. And I knew that it was gonna have him comfortable here in Dallas.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around, and I think we still check up on each other. I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Sending everybody in motion. He waits, pulls it, throws it, big completion. Can they get on the board? And he is in. That's a touchdown for CJ Wyndham. 2 touchdowns last week. Now he gets his first touchdown of this game.
All right, this is a spectacular play by Harper. I mean, because this is a zone read, and it's really an RPO. Harper sees it and then is able to hit Wyndham coming across the field in a matter of milliseconds there.
Who is your first player to team fit that you absolutely love?
Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end of Oregon, to the Chiefs. And this was basically a post-combine reaction, basically Vernon Davis style numbers athletically. And so I think it was validating to see kind of him put those numbers up athletically, his speed, explosion, change of direction. He feels like a player that is not going to drop very far in this draft, especially in a draft where there aren't a ton of blue chip players.
Final, Blue Jays 4, Dodgers 3. Strike the alarms. Everybody now is going to have total chaos. The Dodgers still have the best record in the NL. But yesterday, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, only 2 strikeouts for Shohei at the plate. So the question is, are we concerned at all about Shohei?
Oh my gosh. No, not at all. I mean, first of all, this is the second week of the season. It's still very, very early in the campaign. And I think the thing that we have to remember too is that Shohei has basically, at least as a pitcher, he's done everything that's been required of him. He's gone 6 innings in both of his starts so far this year. He hasn't allowed an earned run. He did allow an unearned run yesterday. That actually snapped a 25 1/3 innings scoreless streak that he had at that point. In fact, that note I saw yesterday that that is now the longest scoreless streak for a Japanese-born MLB pitcher. And then also it overpasses Babe Ruth, who had a 25-inning scoreless streak himself. So we like to compare Shohei to Babe Ruth. It was interesting seeing that comparison in that regard. I will say on the at the plate though, that is where there is a little bit of concern for me at this point. He's got 14 strikeouts so far this season, 45 at bats to this point, but still hitting .267, and he's got 3 bombs. Am I concerned at all that Shohei's not going to pan out throughout this year? Not in the least. I mean, this is a Dodgers team that is still loaded from the floor to the top, from the bottom to the floor. They are clearly loaded. This lineup is going to be great. He's going to get protection throughout the season. So those numbers, I think, are going to increase. But again, this is just the second week of the year. Let's kind of take a deep breath in terms of the concern for Shohei at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things here. You're right. It's the second week of the year. You're right that there's no concern. I think it's absolutely wild that he could have 12 innings and no earned runs. Again, the 1 unearned, but no earned runs. And our conversation is, are we worried? Like, we saw a tweet earlier that pointed this out, but you're talking about 12 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, and it wasn't his best stuff. Like, that speaks to his dominance. Now, you're also right, Coley, that, the concern at the plate, I think there might be a little bit there, but it's early in the season. I'm not worried about any of that. I think this all speaks to the Herculean expectations that we have around the word Shohei now. And frankly, I want to remind everybody that the Dodgers have absolutely nothing to play for right now. Nothing. There's nothing to motivate them. There's nothing to make them want to try. There's nothing to make them give a damn about baseball in April. There is nothing that the Dodgers could, should, or would care about right now. So if they don't care about any of this, and they're still, and shouldn't, and they're still playing well enough that they are who they are, and Shohei still has 12 innings with no earned runs, like, I just want to remind everybody that this is the ultimate example of a team that knows that now's not the time to put any pressure on the gas. Like, now's the time you just sit back, ease into it, stretch out a little bit. Like, this whole section of the season, the first 3 months of this Major League Baseball season for the Dodgers is the equivalent of you and I stretching before we actually run. And we're doing the tortoise versus the hare thing. Like, we're letting everybody else start this marathon and go. And they can just get out. They got a lead. They're up. Who cares? They've got a better record. Who cares? They're a mile ahead of us. Who cares? Because this Dodgers team is so good that when they decide it's time to put the actual pressure on, when it's time to get into that moment, they know how to handle it. They know what they've been there before. They've mastered it before. Like, there's nothing I could see right now that's going to give me any level of concern with the Dodgers or with Shohei, because frankly, even when they don't have to be engaged in the season, Coley, they are still doing these things. They are still no earned runs. Like, he's still this dominant a player. Yeah, there are some things to work out, but I'm not going to be concerned about the Dodgers or Shohei, even if he's this, let's say, politely inconsistent, which I think is a harsh way to break this down. Even if he's this inconsistent in July, I'm still not worried about Shohei.
I think when it comes to that inconsistency, and we saw the tweet talking about how he just didn't look good, he didn't have his best stuff. When I think about that, I do think about how he's pitching. And I will say I haven't watched every single pitch, every single inning of Shohei Ohtani so far this season, but I did notice that his velocity's down. A lot of that is because it's the middle of April, the beginning of April. His velocity on his fastball's down. The splitter is down. Basically, everything is down. His whiff rate lower than it's been in the last couple of seasons. And that's a big part of the reason why maybe to the outside eye, he doesn't really have the stuff that we're used to him having as a pitcher so far. Again, that being said, it's going to come around. It picks up as it gets warmer. The bite on the breaking pitch gets a little bit tighter once you get more into June and into May. And I mean, it's just the nature of the season, beginning the season. To your point, there's nothing to play for at this stage except getting out there, giving your all, refining various parts of your game, and then once it is go time, maybe in June, maybe in July, maybe later, whenever that is for the Dodgers this year, you're absolutely right. They'll turn it on when they need to, and we're going to see the Shohei that we've come to know and love.
I would almost argue that because of the World Baseball Classic, which did require a little bit more oomph from everybody, I just wonder if this is essentially spring training. Like, this is light pitch and catch. This is light, hey, I worked it a little bit. I feel good about it. Now I'm gonna throttle it back. I'm gonna be okay. But I'm not really gonna strain my body. I'm not gonna strain any portion of this. I'm just gonna get my rhythm. Great baseball players talk all the time about the length of the season and just trying to get the right feel and get the right rhythm and ease into it and make sure that you allow everything, the process, to sort of work itself out. Shohei's gonna do that. I just think that coming off of the World Baseball Classic and now coming in to this portion of, let's be honest, meaningless baseball for the Dodgers. Like, that, it's not meaningless for everybody, but for the Dodgers, who have one set of expectations, who are a back-to-back champion, and who, frankly, also played late into last year too. So, like, these are all things that sort of factor into the training process, the mental process, the regimen, all of these things for Shohei. So my level of concern is just, Coley, it's a 0 out of 0. And right now, if I still had to bet my house, if I had to bet your house, if I had to bet both our houses and we don't get to talk again until the bet pays out, so it's awkward for all of us, if I had to bet everybody's houses on the Dodgers or the field, I'm still betting on the Dodgers. Like, there's so little right now that could talk me out of it because of their dominance. And that, I realize a lot of season to go, but Coley, I don't know about you. I feel like patience is a virtue right now for Dodgers fans, for Shohei fans, and for all of us in the way we cover it.
Yeah, well, and the way that you said it earlier, this is a team that has been here before. They know what it takes to get all the way through this year. They know what it takes to get through not just 162, but everything that goes into the playoffs and the World Series. Dave Roberts will get this team where it needs to be. And don't get me wrong, they're still the most dominant team in the NL West right now. So anybody that's having some concern over Shohei right now and the Dodgers, breathe easy, and we're going to make sure that those bets are paid, Fitz.
It is hysterical to me, to your point, that I do feel like there's a little bit of sky is falling already. And we're like, oh my God, are the Dodgers okay? And I'm like, are the Dodgers okay? The Dodgers are 9-3. The Dodgers are 9-3 with a 34-run differential right now. Not 9-3 at plus 34. And we're actually sitting there saying, I don't know. How do we feel about it? Like, you're a Braves fan. The Braves are 8-5 with the 34-run differential. Like, you know, you got to feel pretty good early in the season for the Braves.
Feeling
right?
amazing.
Like, I just, right? See, you're like, this feels awesome. And Dodgers fans are like, Dodgers coverage is like, are they broken, man? I don't know. They've only won 9 of their 12 games, and they're only outscoring their opponents by 34. It's just this is what we're going to do, Coley, all year with the Dodgers. We are going to do this because the expectations are so dang high.
Well, I mean, the expectation should be too, because what are we talking about? The possibility of a three-peat going on with this team? That's going to raise the expectation right there. That's like, you got to win 162 all the way through, right? But again, breathe, woosah. You know, there's plenty of time for the wins to come. I mean, this is still a 100-win team at the end of the year.
No doubt this is still going to be the World Series favorite throughout all of it. And I still love the fact that 12 innings pitched, no earned runs. And we're like, Shohei, okay. That's it. It's got that one unearned run. By the way, you know, that's going to sit in his craw. That's only going to make him angry. All right, we'll keep breaking it down for you. Plenty more to come as we will continue to break down the Dodgers with one of their biggest fans, Bryan Cranston, joining us next.
Who are some of the other like UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like, who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
He's
awful. He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like in golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
The Dallas Mavericks, are they still taking Cooper Flag, Corey?
He is legitimately, you know, as a 6'8" wing who does everything at a high level, shows up every day, competes his ass off.
The way his handle has improved since high school to Duke to now suggests that this guy can be a MVP candidate, not just a multi-time All-Star as a role player, a high-end star role player, but a mega star.
Do you feel pressure that this is America's birthday, this is the White House, you have to represent?
Hell yeah. I do feel pressure. I feel pressure that, you know, I got to go out there and represent for the United States, and I got to go out there and you know, I feel like I'm going to be expected to go out there and win this fight. I'll probably be a favorite. You know, there's pressure right there too. I put pressure on myself. I need to finish. It's been too long.
Johnson to the end zone, caught. Guess who? C.J. Jefferson.
And in talking to the coaches this week, I mean, they said that's your playmaker. That's the guy that Jerome Johnson has the most confidence in. And there you are on 4th and goal, and you throw it right at the goal line, right at the yellow line at the wall. Terrific throw. Nice catch.
Great execution there for New Mexico. They had to have a play.
The Utah Mammoth unveiled the Zammoth, and it might already be the greatest Zamboni of all time. That is an inaccurate tweet because it says it might already be. It is, clearly. And in that spirit, we're going to do something here we love to do on this Yahoo Sports Daily show that we like to call Going Owen. All right, so if you've ever watched Owen Wilson, you know that he likes to say, wow. I can't do the wow impression as well as Caroline Fenton does, but he likes to say, wow. So, yeah, it's go ahead. Can we hear Owen? Can we hear
Wow.
Owen? Do it again? See, they've got the sound effect for it. Coley, can you do a wow? I'm not.
Wow.
See, everybody but me does Owen Wilson better than I do. I don't know. This is crazy. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some different stories in sports, and we'll figure out if we're going Owen with them. So if it deserves a full Owen Wilson, we'll go Owen. You'll hear Owen. Otherwise, it might just get a wow. All right, so let's start with the Zamoth. Does the new Zamboni deserve a wow or a full Owen Wilson, Coley?
Oh, that's a full Owen Wilson. Wow. There we go. See, I'm trying to do it, but I can't do it quite like Owen. In fact, we got to have Owen come on here so that he can do it better than anybody. But this thing is beautiful, man. I am here for this. It's the greatest thing I've seen on a hockey rink like ever. I mean, what it reminds me of is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I mean, maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, but it reminds me of a Zord. Like if there was a blue ranger who was the woolly mammoth, of course we know the woolly mammoth was the black ranger, but we're picking hairs here. If it was blue, that thing would be connected to the major mega. There we go. It would be connected to this. See, that's the Black Rangers, of course, but this is perfect. Folks in Salt Lake City, chef's kiss. I love what they did right here. Took me back to my childhood.
I am so infatuated with what the Mammoth have done. Look, I moved to Nashville right as the Predators came there, and I watched the Preds do their thing. And I'm from Vegas, and I watched the Golden Knights do their thing. I love non-traditional hockey teams, hockey markets, hockey marketing, saying, hey, how do we stand out and what do we do? The minute I saw this, shout out to my buddy Sam Strong, that's a Utah through and through. I texted him, I said, my God, this is amazing. Like, this is such an Owen Wilson. This is there aren't enough Owen Wilsons for the wow of this. They also unveiled a tusk that you can drink out of. Like, who doesn't want to drink out of a tusk? Mother of God. Like, the Utah Mammoth are doing everything perfect in their branding. The way that they've done that is also, for anyone that didn't see this, they built the Zamboni from the 2002 Salt Lake Winter Olympic Games to reimagine it. So it's a statement back to the history in Salt Lake City with the Olympics. It brings hockey history into this. It also is just it's just badass. Everything about this is so sleek. Coley, I love it when teams have to look around and say, hey, we can't just rely on being a hockey team. We need to do different things. This is a wow. This is double wow. Give me one more Owen on this. Give me another Owen.
Wow.
God, it's so good. All right, we'll go to the next in our Owen Wilsons. We'll go to our next here and figure it out. Our guy, Jake Mintz, broke the news that Edwin Diaz is rocking a brimless hat. He said that Tanner Scott started this trend. Does the hat deserve a wow, a full Owen Wilson wow? How do we feel about a brimless hat?
Oh man, I'm gonna go like wow with maybe a shocked face, sort of like what is this kind of thing? What it reminds me of is hats that I've seen throughout New York City for the last several years. It feels like a fashion trend where you get like the beanie and then they've got the little straps in the back, kind of like a regular ball cap, but just without the brim. I feel like I've seen those everywhere in New York City lately, and at least in the wintertime. And this is giving those vibes. I feel like the Dodgers hat, maybe it's the only hat that you really can do it and it not look quite so foolish. You won't ever see the Yankees do this. Like, this isn't a Yankees kind of hat type deal. The Braves A would look weird with that. The Cubs C, I don't know, maybe the Cubs C, but it kind of feels like the kind of thing that only fits with quirky relievers, especially, and a guy like Edwin Diaz, who he is beloved. It's still beloved in New York, of course, with the Tommy Trumpets intro. But it feels like this is the only kind of thing that a relief pitcher could really come away with doing. Myself, I'm not here for it. I'm wow, like with the shocked emoji face, like, okay, good for you.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, this to me is more like the wow of like, wow. Like when your buddy walks in and he thinks he looks great, like he's getting ready for a date and he just thinks he's all dapper, and you walk in, you're like, oh yeah. Wow. Man, wow. That looks that's exactly how I feel about all this. Like, everything about this is awkward. And y'all, like, at least you have the benefit when it's a brimless hat. At least you have the benefit of eventually history will just think you're wearing your hat backwards and something was weird with it. Like, so maybe you won't have to regret the pictures afterwards, but I could just implore everybody. If you think something is cool in the moment, you will have to answer for it in 20 years in pictures, especially in a digital age. I don't know that I want to answer for that. I'll be honest. I don't know if I want to answer for that. How about we'll stick with some baseball here. More baseball. The Guardians have been rocking a medieval home run celebration with some props. Okay, they got like the little helmet. There's a full sword involved. I had to go down the rabbit hole of a lot of articles about the origin story of all of this. How are we feeling about, bringing the Knights of the Round Table to the baseball celebration? What kind of wow does this get?
Yeah, this is just a regular wow, okay. And it's just purely because of who I am. I am just not into anything medieval. We talked TV shows earlier. Game of Thrones didn't do it for me. I know it does it for everybody. I gave it a couple of chances, and I could not get into the knights and the armies and the chainmail and the dragons and all this. I'm sorry, boo me if you want to. I can't get into this celebration. I love everything about celebrations that you see in other places. The Mariners with the trident. I can't say that I'm into Poseidon or anything, but I love the trident. This doesn't do it for me. I am all for celebrations that really seem to be bringing a team together and something that everybody can kind of be part of. So good on the Guardians for doing this. It seems like at least a couple of the guys are really into it, but is the whole team into it? That's my big question. Are you getting buy-in from all 25, 26 guys, and then even the guys that keep, kind of coming off the taxi squad who come up and down, you see from time to time? Are they really going to buy into this too? We'll see. That's my biggest question. I just know that if I was in that clubhouse, I wouldn't be rocking with. I'd be rocking with anything that allowed me to celebrate a home run. Yes, that's true. But this, I don't know if I'm really there for it.
You are so accurate. By the way, completely out on Game of Thrones. I have no interest. And let me just correct a historical inaccuracy.
One of us.
I love Stranger Things. Fine. I love Stranger Things. But they make it look like playing Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s was perceived as cool. It was not. I grew up in the 80s, and if you played Dungeons and Dragons, you didn't talk about it at school because you were getting beat up, right? And now we're turning it around. We're like, oh, no, nerd culture was so cool in the No, it was not, all right? So I'm just letting you know that Dungeons and Dragons was not cool as a kid. I'm letting you know, just ask yourself this one important question, all right? I've never had my music background. If you walked up to a tour bus and, you open up the tour bus and you walked in and everybody on the tour bus was celebrating a show by dressing as medieval knights and sword fighting, that answers your question on this. This does not get a good wow. This gets a wow. The only thing to me that I thought was really wow in an Owen Wilson way here is I found out through Cleveland.com, reading an article, that all of this flowed through veteran catcher Austin Hedges, who serves as the team's official director of clubhouse celebrations. I didn't know there was an official director of clubhouse celebrations. Austin, that's a great title. You get a wow from Owen Wilson for having that title, but also, wow. I know that y'all went to one of those big buffet things and you watched the jousting and this was a bonding thing in Arizona. I got the whole backstory, Guardians. You don't need to give it to me. I read it and I still think it's dorky as hell. I'm just saying. All right, let's get one more in here. Now let's move over to Augusta. We saw a par 3 contest yesterday where Bryson DeChambeau had a surprise guest as his caddy. That guest, Kevin Hart, can neither confirm nor deny whether the golf club is taller than Kevin Hart is, but how do we feel about this? What kind of wow does Kevin Hart, the caddy, give you?
A wow gives, I do get that Owen Wilson wow with seeing Kevin Hart in an Augusta type moment. The celebrity of Kevin Hart is beyond anything in the sport right now. There's no name golfer, although there are some really impressive names like Bryson DeChambeau, of course. There are no names that are quite to the same level of celebrity as this guy. So that gives me a real Owen Wilson wow. That being said, though, I don't know. It just feels a little too cartoony in terms of the outfit itself. It doesn't look like the actual Augusta National caddy's outfit. I feel like maybe if it was a little more true to life, maybe I'd really be into it that much more. But hey, Kevin Hart, get into Augusta National, going a place that I've never been in my life. That gets a big Owen Wilson wow for me, and I'm happy.
Wow. It gets like a high-pitched, screechy kind of wow, because that's just how I would imagine Kevin Hart.
Yeah, that was
Kevin
good.
Hart impression, but that's just I want that wow. That's what I want out of this. It gets a Kevin Hart wow, not an Owen Wilson wow. Also, doubling down on the wows. ESPN reporting this morning to add this little nugget. Bryson DeChambeau confirming that he's playing the Masters with a 5-iron that he fabricated himself with a 3D printer. Might be the most interesting man on the tour. That much we see. That gets a wow. That gets a wow.
Real wow.
Kevin Hart, I mean, you're using your 3D printer, and again, I'm not sure the club isn't actually bigger than Kevin Hart is. But either way, I like the celebrity factor to it. I just think it needs more energy than an Owen. Like, again, here Owen Wilson's wow.
Wow.
That's too laid back for this. Kevin Hart needs a punchier, more dynamic wow. We'll give you a punchier, more dynamic wow coming up next as we will get back to baseball and all things celebrity. Speaking of celebrities, from Kevin Hart to Bryan Cranston, only on this show. Bryan Cranston going to join us next. We'll get his thoughts on his beloved Dodgers and a great reboot you don't want to miss.
Two in motion, quarterback drops back, looks, throws the ball wide open over the middle. Oh, what a hit and what an interception. Huge defensive play. Absolutely beast mode. Jaden Rowe able to get the pick, and we have our first turnover of the game.
He used his head. Well, a tip drill to his teammate off his head.
I was super proud of Gable's fight. I think that Gable really showed tonight that he is going to be great. There's several questions that we got answered. What is he going to do when he gets hit? That was the big one. Everybody's asking it. All the coaches are looking at it. Gable took a spinning heel kick to the jaw and went like this. Nothing. No, he didn't get out of the process. As a matter of fact, he went right back in that guy's face. So that answers a huge question. Also takes away another avenue to victory that all his future opponents will be looking at.
We're going to give you a name. You tell us whether it's a real college athlete or if our producers just made it up out of thin air. Okay, so collegian or concoction. The first one we'll give you is Fat Brooks. Now, for clarity, fat is P-H-A-T.
That is a concoction.
That's a collegian. He's a guard for Central Michigan.
Fat Brooks.
Fat Brooks, yes.
But you know what, Aero, as well? I actually think this is a wonderful, wonderful thing for the UFC. Because if you've got the UFC heavyweight champion whose profile has already risen incredibly over the last week, and by the way, we will continue to drive his profile with our promotional machine. And I believe that when he fights again, he will be in a much better position commercially. He will be a much bigger star.
Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. I'm Jason Fitz. He's Coley Harvey. Hey, we're going to be honest with you here. We're waiting on Bryan Cranston. We think we've got him. He'll be with us in just a moment. Super excited for this one as we try and figure out, live TV and scheduling. Sometimes it gets difficult. Coley, you are a massive Breaking Bad fan, though. This is going to be kind of fun. It's exciting. Cranston, a huge Dodgers fan. You, a huge Breaking Bad fan.
Yeah, this was really interesting when I found out that we'd be talking to him today. This is my maiden voyage with you guys on this show. I was thinking, of course, about that guy on your screen right there, Walter White and Heisenberg. I immediately thought about Breaking Bad, but I've also thought about so many other roles that I've seen Bryan Cranston play. Just a couple of weeks ago, my girlfriend and I were watching a show called Your Honor, which I had actually seen before, but he plays a very complicated character in that. Michael Desiato, there he is on your screen there. Wonderful portrayal. That's on Netflix for people who haven't seen it at this point. It started on Showtime, but it's on Netflix now. Make sure to binge that. Really awesome show. He's just a really accomplished actor. And then to find out that he's got a dog named Vince Scully, he's got this connection to the Dodgers, a lifelong connection. That's something that really strikes a chord with me as a baseball person, of course, being from Atlanta and the Braves are my team, but still having that connection to that sport and wanting to know a little bit more about what it means to him. That's one of the reasons why I'm excited to talk to him today.
Well, Coley, the world has now learned you're much smarter than I am because you picked great, beautiful things that he's been in. I thought it was great in Always Sunny last year when they brought back yet another season of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There was a Breaking Bad tie into there that was absolutely amazing. I will say, had the chance at a Mohegan Sun Food and Wine Festival to go to a tequila tasting that he was at a couple of years ago, and just the nicest guy in the world. So, and incredible to have a dog named after such a legend with the Dodgers, right? Like that it reminds us that there's a humanity. I think I'm making up that word. There's a humanness to celebrities, as you know, sports fandom sort of resonates through everybody. Now, obviously, Cranston, not just for Breaking Bad, Malcolm in the Middle is the reason he's joining us. But I think that speaks also to his ability and his range, that he can be part of something transcendent for two different types of audiences, for two different generations of people. Like, that's such a rarity in acting, and it speaks to Bryan Cranston's greatness. So we're working on getting Bryan Cranston. We're trying to get all of the details worked out as we go through all of this, Coley. But that is, you said Breaking Bad, one of your favorite shows of all time, not number one. No, I mean, like, Cranston's not here yet. We can be honest. If it's number 3, what's number 1? Come on.
I will say it's number 3, but number 1 stars is a show that stars one of his former co-stars in another show that he was in, and that's The Wire. The Wire is my favorite show of all time. Isaiah Whitlock is the character I was just referring to, the actor I was just referring to, who had appeared with Bryan in another show or so. And, you know, we have to say a quick, rest in peace to Isaiah, who just passed back in December, but an accomplished actor himself, from The Wire to Your Honor as well. Certainly another name, another show that I was thinking about this during one of the breaks. I couldn't draw the name of the show when we were talking about TV shows earlier in a break. But Treme, that's another one that I was really into, that, it's the same people behind The Wire. And so it still has some of that same soul, also in New Orleans, just like Your Honor. So it brings that New Orleans flavor too. So anyway, clearly I'm into TV. Clearly I'm into sports. Clearly I can talk all things entertainment. Excited for this opportunity a little bit later on.
That's why we love having you on the show. We would love having Cranston. We don't have him yet. So we're going to move on. And if we get him, we'll keep everybody abreast of that situation. In the meantime, there is a cool new initiative at Yahoo Sports that was out there. You see Ryan Spoon, who is the president of Yahoo Media, tweeting out, I'm very excited about this and what's coming the next several weeks. Starting today, we're rolling out fan rankings and streaks in the Yahoo Sports app. Earn streaks by following your team's games and fan badges for following your favorite team games, news, and more. It's a way to really prove your fandom. Really cool feature in the Yahoo Sports app, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out in a minute, you should. A lot of updates to the app. It's really become elite in everything that it does. And I love the fact that it's letting different fans speak. It's letting different fans have voices and show how powerful their voices can be. So I figured we'd take a look using that as a little bit of a launching pad to figure out who the top 1% are. Who are the best fans in all of sports? The app will show if you're top 1 to 20% of fans for your favorite teams. If you're in 20% or better, send us a screenshot, by the way. Tag at Yahoo Sports, tag Yahoo Sweepstakes for a chance to win a Yahoo Fantasy t-shirt. So let's take a look and figure it out. Who are some of the best fans in sports? What do you got? When I say best fan base, you say?
For me, I have to say Yankees. And I don't. I know that's not going to be a very popular pick. I hear the boos already. There we go. There's the way. So full transparency here. For a couple of seasons, not that long ago, I covered the Yankees for ESPN when I was there, and I got a chance to be around those folks right there, the bleacher creatures. Shout out to my guy Keith McPherson, who may be paying attention to this. He mentioned the bleacher creatures and the roll call the other day. It is something that you do see other teams and other sports try to emulate, but there really is no true emulation of the roll call. It's an opportunity for the fans to just connect with the team as the game is starting. They shout out the players, by their names or nicknames. They go around the horn when the Yankees are on defense in the bottom of the first, or excuse me, top of the first at Yankee Stadium. To me, that's just one of those ways that you identify a tradition. You create a tradition. These people have a sense of that. They also have a sense of just this rabid understanding of the game. Yes, there are crazy Yankees fans out there, just like any fan base that, well, why is so-and-so not fired? Oh, well, why is this person in this position? That happens certainly. but there's also this large group of that fan base that really truly gets the game, asks smart questions of the reporters, which in turn, I think, leads to smart coverage. It also means that the coverage that they're getting is pretty smart, because that's why they're even knowing to ask some of those questions. So I got to say, maybe I'm a little biased just because I spent so much time around them, but I got to say, Yankees fans, they're everywhere. You can't go anywhere on this planet without seeing that NY in the Tiffany style design. The Yankees fans are number one to me.
So the funny thing is, this is where I think most people would presume that I would come in and scream about my beloved Raiders, because certainly Raiders fans have been good to me all over the world, and it is a global fan base. But when I think of best fans, it's hard for me not to think immediately of the Buffalo Bills for a million reasons. Number one, Josh, one of our producers, who also happens to control the sound effects, cheering that, is a Bills fan. When you think of Bills Mafia, yes, you think of the chaos, you think of the craziness, you think of the willingness to stand outside, and you think of the willingness to shovel snow just to get into the stadium. I also think immediately of what they do charitably, the giving that they have done in over and over and over again, the way that they give back to their community, the way they've given back to different causes for different athletes. They are an engaged, smart fan base, and they have gone through it. Yeah, they win a lot of football games, but I can't imagine what it feels like to a certain generation of fans that has watched 4 straight Super Bowl losses during one era and now has watched Josh Allen not quite get there yet. They remain as rabid as ever. They remain as loyal as ever, even when they went through years of not being relevant that we almost forget about before Sean McDermott got there. They remained rabid and relevant. They remain fiery. They remain loyal. They do great things for their community. They do great things together. They give their money. They put their money where their mouth is repeatedly to make the world a better place. It's hard for me not to think of the Bills as the elite fan base in the NFL when I think about fandom, because they're more than just fans of a team. They are truly a community that gives and gives often. So to me, I credit that fan base a lot. I also weirdly got to give credit to a fan base everybody hates. I'll give credit to Cowboys fans. And I'm going to give credit to Cowboys fans because, people get frustrated, Coley, by how much everybody talks about the Cowboys. Well, everybody talks about the Cowboys because people watch. Like, I want to be so transparent here. We study numbers on this show. ESPN, where you and I both work, study down to the second when people tune out to different TV shows. The reason that the Cowboys are talked about so much is because Cowboys fans click on it relentlessly. Cowboys fans watch it relentlessly. Like, we all talk Cowboys all the time because the Cowboys haven't won anything worth a damn in generations, and they still flock to the coverage. The Cowboys get so many TV games because people watch it. So even though people love to hate on the Cowboys, I can't really hate on Cowboys fans, because the reason the brand is still relevant isn't Jerry Jones. It isn't the talent that they've had. It isn't the money that they've spent. It's the fans that eat up the brand like a drug. So I got to give Cowboys fans credit, even if everybody loves to hate on the brand overall.
I can co-sign this. I actually, real quick, I want to go back to your previous point, though, back to the Bills, mainly because I've spent a lot of time around them over the years. And the point that you made about that charitable giving that they do, that is that's something that we've kind of known for a long time about Bills fans, but it was so evident back a little over 3 years ago on a Monday night in Cincinnati, Ohio, a game that I happened to be working for ESPN at that time. And Damar Hamlin goes down on the field, has a cardiac arrest in the game. Bills fans, of course, that was Bengals-Bills, an important game leading to the playoffs for seeding, second to last week of the season. Kind of putting on my breaking news reporter's hat, I ended up being outside the hospital there at University of Cincinnati Medical for a whole week, just recognizing that story. And so seeing the fact that Bills fans gave all that money in his name to his foundation to help at a time that they didn't know what was going on with him was certainly something special. So very special fan base. I'm glad you highlighted them.
That is a beautiful story for you to tell, and incredible to think that you were there for that. Emotional for all of us that had the opportunity to cover it. All right, we will get back to this conversation, but coming up next, Bryan Cranston, we've got him. We will talk Dodgers with somebody that knows the team better than anybody coming up next.
What do you think was kind of misunderstood about George Pickens prior to him arriving in Dallas?
I don't know. It was so many things that I feel like that was misunderstood. They feel like his attitude was off. And I mean, he come in the league at 19 years old. What do you expect out of a guy and you want him to be your receiver one?
Right.
I feel like that's kind of crazy. But keeping him within the guidelines, letting him be himself at the same time, I feel like was probably the best thing for him. And I knew that it was gonna have him comfortable here in Dallas.
What was your impression of him? Do you feel like you have a friendship with Giannis now?
I feel like he was just my friend. Like, I didn't even see him as just a basketball player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was just like that's just my guy. Cause we were just chilling. Like, he took me to his home. He took me to his first we did his first dunk in his neighborhood. So like, he was just showing me around, and I think we still check up on each other.
Very
I just need to go to one of his games, which I promised him.
Sending everybody in motion. He waits, pulls it, throws it, big completion. Can they get on the board? And he is in. That's a touchdown for CJ Wyndham. 2 touchdowns last week. Now he gets his first touchdown of this game.
This is a spectacular play by Harper. I mean, because this is a zone read, and it's really an RPO. Harper sees it and then is able to hit Wyndham coming across the field in a matter of milliseconds there.
Who is your first player to team fit that you absolutely love?
Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end of Oregon, to the Chiefs. And this was basically a post-combine reaction, basically Vernon Davis style numbers athletically. And so I think it was validating to see kind of him put those numbers up athletically, his speed, explosion, change of direction. He feels like a player that is not going to drop very far in this draft, especially in a draft where there aren't a ton of blue chip players.
That picture just has so much joy in it. It's a few years old, but the man's love and affinity even older. Bryan Cranston loves the LA Dodgers. So we're going to talk to him about him right now. Super fan extraordinaire, global icon, acting legend, all-around superstar, joining us because Malcolm in the Middle is about to start a 4-part revival. We will get to that in just a second. But, Bryan, we have to start with the Dodgers, all right? How we feeling? I mean, back-to-back championships. Shohei yesterday. Okay, according to everybody. How are you feeling about the Dodgers this year?
Wow, I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't feeling good about them. I mean, we're now 9-3, right? I think that's what it is, and we've been excited about this. And you know, I will say that I am also a huge baseball fan, not just a Dodger fan. So I think anything that can improve the value of the game, the integrity of the game, I think I'm in favor of having a salary cap, make it high, but also have a salary floor so that teams must spend a certain amount of money. And I think by incorporating those two things, fans would feel better about it because they know their team has to spend money on personnel and players. And so I think there would be more equity around the league and people would feel better about it. Before that all happens, I'm not afraid of being the bad guy. I played many bad guys. So if people want to hate on the Dodgers, just bring it.
I love that you said that because, you know, you are showing that you are truly a baseball fan. You're not just talking about this one team. You're talking about what you could see throughout the league. That said, though, you know, we were just talking in the break, you and I, about your dog. You've named your dog after Vin Scully, legendary broadcaster for the Dodgers. What type of impact did this baseball icon have on you that you even did that in honor of him?
Well, I had a challenging childhood. My father left the family. There was alcoholism and it was unsettling. And there was a lot of insecurity. But I knew that listening to Vin Scully call a Dodger game, at least for those 3 hours, all was well. I mean, his voice truly put me at ease. And it gave me consistency, something I didn't have as a child. It gave me some borders to know that within this time period, this is what we're doing. And it was appointment for me. So I would be the kid with my transistor radio, and I'd stick the little ear thing in my ear, and I would listen to him wherever and whenever he was on. So he became an important, almost not more than a mentor, but almost a surrogate father figure in a way to me.
So that being said, with a lifetime of fandom for the Dodgers, what moment stands out to you as the one that you just remember with the most joy?
Well, I got to say that I was there at the 24 World Series against the Yankees game 1. And when Freddie hit that home run, man, it was jubilation. People in the stands were hugging and kissing each other. You didn't even know these people, but it was so much fun to have us come back from behind and win it in that glorious way. It was terrific. I also remember Kirk Gibson's home run in '88, and so we've had some pretty great successes recently. The 2020 World Championship was odd because of COVID, and I didn't get to go. I saw some of the games, but it was so quiet because there was basically no one in the stands, and it was just weird all around, a truncated season. But, you know, a victory is a victory, so we'll take it.
You certainly will. Now, of course, you're not just known for your Dodgers fandom. You are an accomplished actor, as we just outlined, a global icon, in the words of Jason Fitz there. When it comes to your acting, I mentioned earlier that I just introduced my girlfriend to Michael Desiato. Watched Your Honor for the first time very recently. When it comes to these characters that you've played, whether it's Desiato or Walter White, of course, in Breaking Bad, Lyndon Johnson, Hal in Malcolm in the Middle, and on and on and on. When it comes to these characters, how much a part of you is inside each character that you play?
Well, I mean, aside from the just the obvious that I'm the human being who's playing these, but every actor wants to be able to differentiate one character from another as much as possible. So that comes with research. The most research you can do, and you absorb idiosyncratic sensibilities of a character. And I call them handles. The more you take in, the more you can hold on to, and the more he can appear and feel different than any other character you've played. And then there's characters like Hal on Malcolm in the Middle that I wanted to revisit. I loved that guy. And I think, you know, like you said, Michael Desiato on Your Honor or Walter White on Breaking Bad. I've done a lot of characters that cause a lot of harm to people. And it was nice to be able to jump back into the slippers of a sweet, vulnerable, sensitive man who was able to have this crazy family and enjoy it. And we just had a blast doing this new version of Malcolm in the Middle.
You've been away from that character so long. What's the biggest challenge in relating back to who that character was for you?
It's a good question. I didn't know if after 20 years we would be able to just slip right back into these characters. But in the table read, when we read all the episodes, the 4 episodes, every single one of the core characters that we played with 20 years ago, it was unbelievable how everybody picked up where we left off. And it was a joy to be able to do that. Now, the biggest difference for me is that I'm 70 years old. So doing all that physical comedy comes at a price now. I make all kinds of noises when I'm on the ground scurrying around or caked in some kind of goo. I do definitely need a helping hand to get me up off the ground. And I make a lot more noises.
That sounds like it's going to be incredible. We're definitely going to check that out on Friday, this coming Friday on Hulu and Disney Plus. With this project now in the bag, what's next? What's on the radar for you beyond this?
Well, I just finished doing a play in London, a great play, and that was terrific. And then I went to Venice, Italy, to reprise a role on a show called The Studio on Apple, which is an insane, fun shoot to do. And I play this guy who's out of his mind in all the best ways. So, and that's why I have my hair the way that I have a little shock of white coming out of there, and my hair is dyed darker. But I have so much fun doing this, and that's what I like to do. So I did a very heavy play in London, and 3 days after that, I'm in Italy, in Venice, Italy, and playing this insane character for laughs. And that's exactly what I love to do. Go from theater to film to television, do comedy, do drama, do something important, do something frivolous. It gives me a whole bouquet of performances to look forward to.
I thought Coley was going to go. I thought Coley had another one here for
sorry.
you. All right.
I
So,
actually did, but go ahead.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. We're in honor of Malcolm in the middle. We thought we'd do a little rapid fire game here. Okay. We're going to put you in the middle of some classic sports debates. Okay. So you have to take a side one way or the other. We'll rapid fire these. All right. So we'll start with this one. Shohei the hitter or Shohei the pitcher? Which is better?
Hitter. Let's go, boys. Come on, we got it.
This is rapid fire. Excuse me. All right, so here we go. You mentioned all the World Series, but the 2024 World Series win versus the Yankees, or last year versus the Blue Jays? Which one?
Oh God, it's the Blue Jays, of course. That finish to the World Series was amazing, and being in London doing this play during the time, every single game started at 1:10 a.m. in the morning for me. So I'm up from 1 o'clock to about 4 o'clock watching the World Series, and then trying to get some sleep because I have a show later that night. It was a trying time, but I'm not going to miss that.
That's amazing. I just love the concept of sitting down there, like filling in for Cranston tonight because of the World Series. All right. We know you're a Lakers fan, so we'll go a little NBA here. GOAT, LeBron or Michael Jordan?
I still have to go with Michael. I do. I got to go with Michael. I mean, LeBron is phenomenal. But there was just something, maybe it's because Michael seemed to be the first bona fide superstar to just be eyes wide open. And I've seen both of them play, and they both have complementary skills to their game. I still remember Michael in that playoff game when he was sick, and he's still performing. But they either play sick, play hurt. This is your moment. You got to step up. You made me do that. Now I'm going to get some hate mail from my fellow Laker fans.
That's what we do.
We might get you some more hate mail right here too. But staying in LA, but a different sport. Chargers, Rams. Who you got?
Oh, Rams. Come on. That's not even, that's no contest. The Chargers are transplants from San Diego. But I will say, and I was born and raised in Southern California. So the Rams, I'm a homer. The Dodgers, the Rams, the Lakers, and the Kings too. I love them. And, the Rams left me for a while. They left Southern California. They went to St. Louis. And then when they came back, they thought they can just come right back into my life and I wouldn't be upset. Like a girlfriend coming back? No, I can smell the St. Louis on you. You've been with another city.
Earn it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, one more. Only you can answer this in the entire world. Last one. Who goes down as the better provider for their family? Hal or Walter White?
Oh, yeah, definitely Hal. Hal is the guy. Well, I think because he didn't kill anybody along the way that he knows. I mean, and that's got to count for something.
Oh, this is amazing. It's an honor to get to hang out and talk to you. Everybody check out the Malcolm in the Middle. It reboots on Friday, so can't wait for it. 4 episodes out on Hulu, out on Disney+. Bryan, genuinely appreciate your kindness, your time. Good luck to your Dodgers when they're in the World Series and you're up until 4 a.m. again. If you're in London, you still got to come on the show. So we're going to add the show to your shows, and that's just going to happen. We appreciate it.
Let's do it again. Let's go.
Thank you so much.
Bring it back. You bet. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.
Great stuff from Bryan Cranston. Coming up next, Brandon Perna going to join the show. We'll get his thoughts on all things AFC West.
Who are some of the other like UFC combat sports golfers that we might not know about? Like who's sneaky good?
You know what, man? I don't think there really is anybody else. Daniel Cormier is starting to play. He's absolutely
How's his game?
awful.
He's
no.
awful.
He talks so much trash. He is so bad. But I tell you what, though, he is an athlete, and he's just like in golf's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get.
The Dallas Mavericks, are they still taking Cooper Flag, Corey?
He is legitimately, as a 6'8" wing who does everything at a high level, shows up every day, competes his ass off.
The way his handle has improved since high school to Duke to now suggests that this guy can be a MVP candidate, not just a multi-time All-Star as a role player, a high-end star role player, but a mega star.
Do you feel pressure that this is America's birthday, this is the White House, you have to represent?
Hell yeah. I do feel pressure. I feel pressure that, I got to go out there and represent for the United States, and I got to go out there and I feel like I'm going to be expected to go out there and win this fight. I'll probably be a favorite. There's pressure right there too. I put pressure on myself. I need to finish. It's been too long.
Johnson to the end zone, caught. Guess who? C.J. Jefferson.
And in talking to the coaches this week, they said that's your playmaker. That's the guy that Jerome Johnson has the most confidence in. And there you are on 4th and goal, and you throw it right at the goal line, right at the yellow line at the wall. Terrific throw. Nice catch.
Great execution there for New Mexico. They had to have a play.
Fernando Mendoza and John Spytek spotted having dinner. You might notice that picture. Looks cozy out there in the Las Vegas Strip. But our next guest also noticed one important thing about that picture is he points out Mendoza has 3 waters. I respect his commitment to proper hydration, especially in the desert. That from Brandon Perna. He's right. Like, look, I'm a beverage goblin, so I get it. I'm not uncommon for me to have 3 or 4. Look at Perna going in. Got to get that hydration, Perna. Got to get it. All right, there we go. We appreciate your time. As always, hanging out with us, number 1, of course, and number 2, we appreciate your patience, as obviously you maneuvered your schedule around for us. So thanks for hanging out with us. How are we feeling? What are we supposed to make of a Broncos offseason that has been quiet for a team that maybe didn't need a lot but hasn't done a lot? How do you feel about the team so far?
We needed one guy, and his name was Jalen Waddle. Up until that point, I was getting a little nervous, a little antsy, a little impatient with the Broncos. And I think ultimately it's a good sign when you re-sign a lot of your own players, right? You feel good about that. But as a fan, you need a splash. You need something sexy. And I think knowing that the passing game is close, feels like they have just been lacking that weapon, and they get a proven guy in Jalen Waddle, and now I don't think anybody can stop him, certainly in the AFC West.
You mentioned Jalen Waddle. It seems like, the best team in the AFC West. Team. Here we go. Hands down. You mentioned Jalen Waddle being that big splash, but he pretty much was the only major addition that this front office has pulled off this offseason. What's your level of comfort or concern with the front office, given that was the only real move?
I think as long as they have devoted their resources to medical science and making sure Bo Nix is taking the proper amount of calcium, and that his ankle never breaks at the end of a division champion or a division playoff game again, so he can play in the championship. I think that's all I need to hear. I don't care really so much about the other roster moves because they were so close. They were a game away from, getting to the Super Bowl, game away. Maybe you could upgrade backup quarterback in case that happens again, but science. I need a Walter White level scientist working in the Broncos front office. And I will say, I do agree with Bryan that Hal is the better father because he did not kill anybody. That's we are on the same page there.
That's probably a good that's the right floor. That's question.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a Dad of the Year contest, question number 1 is, have you killed anybody this year? If the answer is no, then you probably get a little bit of a bump there.
Yeah.
I will
That's
say
a great question for a first date as well. You know.
That is, have you ever killed anyone? That's
Yes.
probably that's a swipe. There we go. All right. Let me ask you though about Davis Dragon Webb. We fell in love with Dragon Webb on this show, talking to many people that have a lot of experience around him. He becomes not only the offense coordinator, but he gets the play calling duty, which I think even people that have been around Sean Payton were shocked by. How do you feel about that move for this offense?
I think that's the most, with the lack of moves, and if the Broncos didn't sign Jalen Waddle, the thing I was going to be telling myself is they didn't need to because they're giving Davis Webb the opportunity to call plays. So I think Broncos fans are really excited about it. I think everything you hear about Davis Webb is very positive from, not just when he was with the Broncos, but the Giants and everything he does kind of behind the scenes. And I think the offense needs a little bit of, refreshing in that department. And I think we all know Sean Payton's got a very large ego, and I don't think he would do this unless he actually trusted Davis Webb. So I think his vote of confidence in Davis is pretty cool and exciting. And in terms of developing, Bo Nix and the offenses in the NFL, just keeping up with what all the other, I think, talented coaches are doing. I'm excited to see if Davis can do it. And Broncos fans got a taste of it last preseason. And you know how crazy fans are. He called one preseason game and everybody's like, this guy should be calling the plays all year long. And the moment the offense stalled, it was like, let's get Sean Payton out of there, calling plays and put in Davis Webb. So I think they've been waiting for this for some time.
I want to ask you a question that revolves around other teams in your division. You mentioned the Broncos are going to be the best team in the AFC West. Sure. So I want to look at the rest of the division and specifically at the Raiders. They've had a very unique offseason. They've made a couple of additions there. Quarterback, one, of course, is still pending. And then, Max Crosby, getting him back after the drama with Baltimore. What stands out to you as a Broncos fan in terms of what the Raiders did this offseason?
Yeah, I think you hit it there. Their best signing was keeping Max Crosby, so that was huge. Second, Clint Kubiak, I think, is the right guy for that team. As a Broncos fan, Gary Kubiak was our guy. Came in 2015, got the Broncos the Super Bowl win after being with the organization for such a long time. So I think if you watch what Kubiak did for the Seahawks, it feels like he's ready for this opportunity. And I hate to say that because I want the Raiders to stay in purgatory. It's fun knowing you've got one team that's going to be bad every year, and that was the Raiders. And it feels like they have really changed their philosophy and approach. And I definitely don't want to give Tom Brady any of the credit there either. And they've got the number 1 pick. So we'll see, I think Mendoza has a great shot because of Kubiak. Tyler Linderbaum was a big signing for him in free agency. They bring in some linebackers, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean. It feels like they're making too many smart moves, and I'm used to the Raiders doing something crazy. You're like, that's probably going to blow up in their face. And last year they got credit too. I thought, hey, Pete Carroll's coming in, Geno Smith. I didn't think they were going to be great, but I was like, this is going to be a competitive team. Didn't work out, so I hope I'm wrong again, but yeah, we did a Mendoza video, and I'm like, I like him too much. He might be a problem in a couple years. So speaking kindly of division rivals is never fun, but it feels like they're making grown-up decisions.
You know what? I will respond to your kindness towards my beloved Raiders with kindness to you, acknowledging that I think the Broncos are clearly the best team in the AFC West. I don't think it's even close, right? And I think the Broncos are a hell of a lot closer to the Super Bowl than the rest of the West is to the Broncos. So let me ask you this. Why is it that none of us are scared of the Chargers? Because on paper, the Chargers always look like they should be scary, but literally no. I think if you went to every single fan in the AFC West and said, how you feel about the Chargers, every single fan base is like, why?
Yeah. It's that photo of Herbert right there. He doesn't look like a killer. He looks way too nice. He looks way too nice.
That's Hal, not Walter White.
Yeah, exactly. They got Hal. I think like the Chargers, there's always injuries that slow them down, right? This last year, they lose their tackles that killed them. I think I love Mike McDaniel. He's probably my favorite coach in the NFL. I think in terms of just comedy, nobody can touch him. I think he could be a comedian if he wanted to. So he's my guy. I think him getting back to just calling the offense is going to be great for the Chargers. I did not understand the Greg Roman hiring for the Chargers. Like, it just didn't make sense with Herbert. And I think you saw that through the course of the season. And even their free agents they bring in, like Keaton Mitchell will be exciting in the backfield. Charlie Kolar and Alec Ingold, assuming their tackles are healthy, I feel like they're going to be better at blocking. And that's what Harbaugh wants to do. But Mike McDaniel's the X factor. If you want to bank on a reason they'll be kind of dangerous, I think it's Mike.
Ooh, certainly. So, as we look at the rest of the division, the Chiefs still kind of stick out in a weird way. I mean, they get Travis Kelce back. They're getting Patrick Mahomes, of course. We'll have Patrick Mahomes. Yes, he's up there. But they've added a big addition in the run game with Kenneth Walker coming in. What do you think about the way that Denver's going to have to protect against that run game this year?
Not worried.
Okay.
Andy Reid,
Super Bowl MVP, no worry.
Sticking to the run game? I don't think so. I think they might run, consistently if Mahomes is out for a little bit. But their offense, I love Kenneth Walker. I think he was incredible for Seattle, especially down the stretch. But I have watched Kansas City just not utilize their running backs. So they'll have to convince me that they're going to. And now that now that I just said that, he's going to have like 1,800 rushing yards. It's going to blow up in my face. But I think the Mahomes injury is just a huge question mark. I think we all know Mahomes is a freak. He'll probably be on the field week 1. But I think until we see him start to trust that knee and start to feel comfortable doing the things that he does well, which is extending plays and, having that, it's weird to say that he's like sneaky fast, but he looks like he's so slow when he's running, but nobody can catch him or tackle him. Once we see that kind of manifest again, then I'll start to worry. But I think they've got a lot of questions to answer for the first time in a long time, and I hope they answer none of them. I hope they finish last place.
It is. I can't find a path to the Chiefs to last place, but if I could, I wouldn't be mad about it. Like even Chiefs fans last year when they didn't win the Super Bowl finally, and Chiefs fans coming out being like, "Oh, it's nice to have a little break." All right, Perna, we appreciate your time. You guys follow him on social media at Brandon Perna. Obviously, check out That's Good Sports on YouTube. We always appreciate your time, your expertise, and we'll keep the trash talking going all the way through. Obviously, all the way through next football season. At least maybe the Raiders will finally be good enough that we can talk a little trash on that. In the meantime, we'll be back right here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern with everything you need to know to catch up from the action tonight. Coley Harvey did a great job filling in. He'll be back with us tomorrow. I'm Jason Fitz. Perna, we appreciate your flexibility hanging out with us as always today. Come back tomorrow. See us 9 a.m. Eastern, Yahoo Sports Daily.